What is going on YouTube? Darksword255 here, where the numbers may be randomly generated, but the content itself is not. And I am joined with my fabulous friend, the one, the only, the herder of all cats, the Bront CatHerder himself. Welcome, Bront. How are you doing today?
Hey, pretty good. I actually have to challenge you on that. Is it really random 255, or did you actually pick that out at some point in time? Everyone really wants to know. That's the burning questions that I am here to ask you today.
Listen, so the numbers at the end of Darksword255, they were at one point randomly generated, but you know, as I grew up playing a game called RuneScape, and I needed a username, so Darksword was the username, and I did 255 because the fives look like scimitars, which are swords. So I needed the numbers at the end. They were originally randomly generated, and then I changed them to 255, but not as, and you know, this is when I was 12, and I've just never ever changed the name. It's just not unique whatsoever.
I had 20 at the end of my name for the longest time because that was just kind of what you did, especially because Bront was just too short for a lot of things.
Yeah.
You need to have a 6 whatever else. So, you know, now with the cat herder, I don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, because there's only one. There's only one herder of cats. There's only one Bront herder of cats. To become part of my team, click the link in the description right now to get Elenaril for free, as well as 3 more amazing epic champions as you level up. Here's how you do it. Log out of Plarium Play on your PC and uninstall it. Click the link in the description, register with a brand new email, launch raid, and complete the tutorial. Go to your inbox and claim your first champion. Don't miss out on this chance to get a free Elenaril along with 3 epics as you progress through raid. Click on my link right now and let's get started. So today, guys, we are going to be doing a little bit of a look back and a look forward. This is a mini review of 2025, things that we thought were the biggest impacts of the game last year. And then we're going to be going over some things that we're excited for moving forward into 2026. So Bront, I know that, you know, I've watched a bunch of your videos, some of your other collabs with Fastidious, and, you know, just throughout you giving your opinion on last year of Raid Shadow Legends. What were your biggest takeaways? What was your most exciting features that they ended up adding into Raid last year in 2025?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a couple of big ones. There's no question that the free gear removal is probably the biggest impact in gameplay, and a lot of the feedback from the community I've got is very similar for that as well. People are basically, this brought me back into Raid, well, or this kept me back into Raid after I came back for the Turtle collaboration, for example. That's certainly one to look at, but honestly, I think all the collabs are certainly been a fun event that we've been doing as well, with the event dungeon kind of cool. And then Grim Forest, I think, gives an interesting new wrinkle to the gameplay, and I think that's certainly worth talking about as well as one of the big things of the past year. But I mean, there's so many things, you know, and I've talked about some of them before in other videos, but I mean, Grim Forest, I've just had so much fun with Grim Forest. I think that's probably my favorite thing to do in Raid right now. And it's certainly frustrating that I don't have any more to do at the moment. I'm out of it. I'm done. I've solved both of them, and I'm just waiting for it to reset.
Yeah, hey, 4 more days, and then we get the new map and the new everything, which is nice. I would agree with you, because Curse City, while yes, like, you know, it's another like PvE piece of content, I feel like it's just it's so hard. Like, the difference between hard and normal is so extreme, and even the end game boss is also so extreme that it's not really middle of the pack kind of experience. Because Grim Forest normal, everybody can kind of, and I say that's in quotes, almost everybody can do normal Grim Forest. And then like hard Grim Forest is hard, right? But you're not in a niche set of characters. You bring your characters that you like, so it gives you a lot more diversity. I would agree. I really do like, I remember being excited for Grim Forest, more like a roguelike, you know, that they were bringing into the game. And
yeah, the Curse City's got that problem of Curse City is definitely a little more on the difficulty scale, and I kind of get that you want some of the extremely hard stuff, and there is some extremely hard stuff. The purple area is very, very difficult.
Oh yeah,
but that's fine. There's nothing wrong with having a very, very difficult spot up there, and it's definitely nice to have a couple things that are kind of challenging for an endgame account. But like hard faction wars, I think is not been well received.
It has been brutal.
Because honestly, the difficulty at level 14 is probably the difficulty that should have been at level 21.
Yes.
And some of the bosses are just so brutal. It's just, they're not fun. Especially like the purple boss, I think, is the one that's got the health swap that is constantly swapping what debuffs you put on them when you just cast them. And it's just, how are you supposed to beat this with so many of the teams that don't even have champions that deal with it? And the counters for it are hope RNG helps you, not you can do
There's
this
no skill.
constantly.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. This is obviously my free-to-play account that I'm like using to showcase this stuff. But even my main account, for example, my main account is struggling on high elves, like to progress. Like I just don't have at an end game like whale account. I am still struggling to get through hard faction wars, and it's not again that I don't have like the gear or like a skill thing. It's more of just like, wow, like I just don't have a certain champion to progress at all. Like versus normal faction wars, right? Normal faction wars, you just need to gear your champions and have, you know, the champions be like, even like you can do this with all epics. You know, you don't have to have like a mythical to progress or like a specialty niche character to progress in normal faction wars. But like in hard faction wars, ridiculous.
Yeah, for High Elves, Arbiter, for example, is an incredible champion for normal, but not enough of a healer, not enough of a reviver on hard, unless you've built her for PvE content and not your PvP build. Whereas you can use the PvP build in normal without any problem whatsoever. There's so many other champions that you can use that even some of the rare revivers are great. And the fact that the rare revivers have to be used in some of the hard content and they're just not up to the task in some cases is just so frustrating.
Yeah, they just get obliterated. They just get you almost cannot do it without having mythicals, or you kind of have to have ridiculous gear on those epics. And even then the epics still get obliterated. The stats are just a little bit too crazy. You know, I think that I understand the reason why they made it so hard. They want it to not be something that people hammer out. Especially since, you know, the game has been out for so long. They don't want people to fly through it. I totally get that. I do think that there needs to be a little bit of a rebalancing with some of these things because, again, it's way too hard. And with Faction Wars Hard being added, which is great, just kind of more relic material, more relics that are into the game, especially since relics are about a year old, you know. Yeah. You know, they're a year old.
December.
Yeah, about the end of December of 2024. So almost 2025, you know, adding just on a way to like actually just get more stuff within like the crafting system is great. But, you know, especially with the new Grim Forest material that you can make, all those relics are awesome. And I really like that the Grim Forest, again, most accounts can do it. So you can get these really nice lower level relics that are so impactful for your account. I mean, you know, everybody obviously wants the mythical stuff, but there aren't a lot of really good low-level relics. Everybody wants like the mythical or legendaries, and that even those take forever. You have to spend a good amount of money to get the materials to do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of basic ones that are pretty clutch. I mean, the Arethi Coronet's pretty easy to get. That's a super powerful one. The dagger is actually really, really nice. It's the Chimera. I think they're both Chimera.
Yeah, but the Talon.
The Talon.
Yeah, so good.
Talon is pretty solid for damage dealers. It's just bonus crit damage for the most part, but bonus crit damage, I'm not going to complain about that. At a 10% chance, bookable like 20 or 30% chance to actually do extra damage. Okay, that's not too bad. I think the Orbit Transfiction's underlooked a lot. That's actually been pretty clutch on a couple of things on my account. The ability to just steal stuff. Yep.
I'm in the way.
Yeah. But Molten Death Bell is actually pretty solid.
I love this.
Control champions, you know, just there's so many little things. It's like, okay, this plays into them and just makes somebody slightly better and gives them better stats, which is great.
Well, especially since
not all of them are bangers. Some of them are really bad, but you know, they're still extra stats.
Well, the Chimera ones are, I think, for like every account are really like overall. You know, because I've done a bunch of account takeovers on like brand new accounts that are a couple months old, you know, that are getting some of the material from Chimera, and even just the Molten Death Bell and the Talon itself. Like those are like huge game changers for accounts because a lot of accounts don't have that accuracy. They don't have the Great Hall filled out. So getting, you know, 54, I think is like level 14 or level 12. Like that's huge. You know, like you'll be able to land your debuffs now. on a lot of different bosses. And then the Grim, like I said, the Grim Forest, they have like the introduction of some of these like newer, like lower level stuff is pretty good also. But you know, relics are huge. I do understand that it's a lot of power creeping that's happening in the game because of really relics. You know, I remember when we started, well, when I started this game, 300 speed was crazy fast. Like hitting 300 speed was like you're at the top escalon of like speed, and now 300 speed is like the average. Like you need to have 300 speed, and then like the upper escalon is like 450, 500 speed now. It's crazy how fast, like, and how much like damage and speed and buffs have been pushed into the game from relics here.
For context, back when I was playing this to start the game, for the longest time before I had Arbiter, I had Haikatun as my fastest champion on my account. And she brought me into Gold 4 when Gold 4 was the highest you could get and was difficult to stay in and get in. And I had a Haikatun at 285 speed. And
oh my God.
Insane that I could actually occasionally outrun Arbiters with Haikatun at 285 and that speed aura, which was just, you know, and that was what got me into Gold before I got my Arbiter. And of course, Arbiter just made it easier because Arbiter was naturally faster and had a better aura. So it was a lot easier to win those speed battles. But still, it was just, you know, Haikatun used to be a meta champion until you could get to your Arbiter. And just, you know, how times have changed now.
Yeah, now they're terrible. Like even Arbiter right now is just, you know, there's a lot of people that you don't even go with Arbiter anymore. You know, as like a speed lead, they take Fabian.
I mean, she's still one of the meta ones because she has the 30% turn meter boost, which is now more important than the increased speed. But that's actually one of the reasons that like Siphi has actually fallen off, is because Siphi only gives you 10% speed and the increased speed buff. But the increased speed buff is not as powerful as the turn meter boost in live arena when your speeds are 400 plus.
Yeah, and expect like with seasons, I think seasons were added this year, but I'm a huge fan of live arena, and I know that I was watching you and Fastidious talk about like live arena and how, yes, I get that like it's fun at like the whale level, right? Like having these crazy like accounts and having like the gear and the champions, but I really enjoy, especially on my free-to-play account, which I mean I have a nice, so you know, this is a little bit different, but even before I had nice, you know, I really enjoyed beating people that had these crazy champions, just to show like, hey, that it's not necessarily the champion, that it's actually more of like the player and how you're using him, how that you have them geared, and a little bit more strategy that goes into live arena. Granted, you know, something that I do really like that Raid has started to do is they're making it that you're not 100% have to play the game for like 10 hours, right? Like they're making it easier with the quick battles, you know, and you know, we can talk about that moving into 2026, how they're really progressing the game. But you know, I think I'm somebody who likes to play the game throughout the day as you know, just as much as I can. But the average player, you don't have time. You don't have time to sit here for 10 hours playing the game. You have maybe 30 minutes sprinkled throughout the day. Hey, I gotta, you know, before I go to work, I'll do this. Hey, I'm at work, I'm just gonna quickly do a couple battles. Like I'm at the end of the day, I'm just gonna put this on auto battle while I'm doing something else. You know, you don't have time to be like, okay, I need 7 hours to devote into this one event. Which is, again, you know, moving into 2026, they're gonna be moving and changing a lot to make the game less that you have to stick in the game. But you know, 2025, like they still added a bunch of like quality of life stuff like that, which is really, really nice.
Yeah, you had me give you your top 3. So what are your top 3?
So for 2025, my biggest one, and you know this because I complain to you all the time, is gear storage. I am terrible at cleansing. Like I do a bad job cleansing, or like I need to at my level start to niche down a lot more, which is a little bit more complicated than the average. Okay, all the 5-star blue gear gone. Okay, like your main stat, like if these are flat stats for like your main bottom ones, gone. Like it's now to the point that I'm like, okay, like I need to go to all my speed gear. If it doesn't have speed, get rid of. Hey, I need to go to crit damage. If it does, you know, so I like have to niche down a lot more. And I think they've expanded. It was at 1200 and they raised it recently to 2000, which again, for me, massive, because I always struggle. I always struggle. And to harp back on it, I just don't have the time sometimes. Like for a lot of the time, I don't have the time to go through every single slotted piece of gear and niche down, especially with all of these new gear sets that they're adding into the game. You know, you have to be a lot more meticulous with like merciless gear, your stone skin gear, because every, you know, merciless stone skin protection can be used on such a broad level, right? Like, especially stone skin, you can have it on nukers, you can have it on healers, you can have it on protect. So like, you need to be a lot more, you need to like really, as you can see, like I have so much stone skin gear that I need to go through, but like, I just don't know really, not necessarily how, but again, so just adding the more gear slots that you can have is huge as well. So this is kind of like a twofer, because I'm talking about gear, is being able to sell stuff from your inventory. First of all, increasing your inventory more, awesome, right? But also being able to just like right from here, if you have like an overflow, which I always have an overflow, especially if I'm doing like events and grinding out events, I'm just like 50, 60 battles, I'm gonna go do something else. And then coming back and it's like, your gear is full. I'm like, I know. Thank you, Raid. I know. Like go in here and just be like, oh, do I want to just like roll this a couple times? Cool, I'll just roll it. Does it go into anything I like? It doesn't. Okay, so then I can just go ahead and sell. So like I don't have to then bring it into my inventory to then be able to sell. And you can use RSL Helper to sell from your inventory also. Two big things that I think are super, super impactful, as well as, I know you already talked about it, being able to remove gear. Like that was a massive one. So I think a lot of the gear changes, storage, being able to bring it from person to person, all of that stuff was super, super impactful. And I don't think a lot of people really necessarily have harped on this. They really kind of focus on some of the bigger areas of the game, but the gear is so important.
Yeah, the one thing they still have is that I think is going to be an issue is that gear, you still are going to have this problem with accessories because of the 9-piece sets and accessories. Even with 2,000 pieces now, it is so difficult to deal with accessories. I think what they're going to need to start doing, especially if they're going to continue to add more factions, is we're going to need to move from a faction level gear breakdown for those, I think, to a union level breakdown. So in Numbrezian Union, instead of having it being Shadowkin, it would be the Numbrezian Union. So my dwarves, my Shadowkin, and my new faction and my Sylvan Watchers would all share the same accessories. That would make the accessory basically management significantly easier. And I think that's something, I think that's the easiest way to maintain the limited exclusiveness of these things without really hurting the ability to add more 9-piece sets, because every 9-piece they add basically adds somewhere near to 100 to 300 extra accessories I need to have on my account for every single set.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, especially the accessories, like exactly. Yeah. And I mean, for me, for an example, my main account, I do not have a single feral lizard ring. I have not gotten one since it has been incepted. Have not gotten one. So like it would help a lot. You know, it makes it easier to gear your champions, right? Yeah. And I think the biggest thing from all the gacha games, right? I've played so many different hero collector games like this. I've played a lot of just mobile games in general. And the biggest thing that makes people not like Raid is how complicated the gearing system is. And so like having like a union, like you're saying, kind of makes it a lot easier than be like, okay, so I need all of this one faction sets of accessories. I need, you know, it just makes it a lot easier for like newer players coming into the game to be a little bit more dumbed down. I would love to see like on accessory pieces, like not accessory, but like gear pieces, recommended stats, like put on like the side, or like if I did this, like exclamation point, it would say recommended for this speed, crit, whatever. It would help, I think, because if you don't use RSL Helper or the optimizer or anything, then your hand doing this, or like there's not really like built into the game itself, like that recommendation system. Like, hey, you should like aim for this.
Recommendation systems are often trash in these systems, so I'm fine without a recommendation. But I think they've done a good job with the filters. I think better filters would certainly be.
Oh, definitely.
The ability to actually filter by unrolled, or don't show me the stuff that's already plus 16, so at least I can see the stuff that can be rolled when I'm trying to upgrade my gear. One of those two things, something like that.
Or doesn't have would be great.
Level would be nice. Yeah. Missing. Yeah. I can put how many speed sets I've got or how many speed hits I've got. What if I want show me stuff that doesn't have speed on it? Because that's also very useful for me, for example.
Yes, you can cleanse it.
They've come far. I suspect they'll get better at it too, because I suspect that they are aware of some of these things. But they've come pretty far though, and I can't. We talk about the things we want on that, but we got to give them credit for what they have done with that so far.
Oh, definitely. And I a lot of this stuff they've done a really good job with. The filters are great. I think the event dungeons, to go back to what you were saying, a lot of the PvE stuff that they've done this year and the collabs that they've done, again, going back to what you said, are really, really good. Like, I think the turtles were the biggest collab that they've done that really got people super, super energized. They were really into the game. Really sad that I missed Raphael. Really, really sad. Of course, I pulled a Raph on my friend Grims's account, and so he has all the turtles, but I don't. That event, and they do a really good job with their collabs. Whatever their collabs are, for the 9 out of 10 times, fantastic. Like, really energized. The event dungeon, while I do like and also have complaints about, I like that I just like them being challenging. I like that there's a challenge in the game, even for endgame accounts. Now, I get it that there are going to be people who complain, why can't I do stage 30 of the event dungeon as a brand new account? This is unbalanced. But it's that's how the game kind of needs to be balanced. Not everybody should be able to farm the highest level of dungeon.
Fair, they did realize they went too far with the Furiosa dungeon. That was absolutely nuts. And the fact that they backed off of that was nice, although the fact that it took them months it took them about a month and a half. It took them about halfway through the event to back off of that is kind of frustrating. And I guess it's kind of one of the things I would look forward to them doing in 2026 is I think they need to get just a little more responsive with balancing things in general.
Yeah.
They kind of have this idea of where they want things, and they don't like to change balance because, to be fair, they're afraid that if they nerf something, people are getting upset and leave the game, and they're going to be angry. Or they're afraid if they buff something, maybe they buff something that's too strong and that's going to break the game another way, or the buff isn't going to be as strong. I think they need to get just a little better at doing it just a little more often and a little more actively. And I think what would happen is they would find that getting players used to those things changing just a little bit will overall get over the pain of, man, my champion got nerfed. And especially, here's the thing, Rotos has been nerfed twice, I think, maybe 3 times. He's still a meta champion. If you do a nerf right, you can make a champion still be absolutely amazing. Sanguine Maria, probably a champion that didn't really need to be nerfed the way that they nerfed her. She's still considered a meta champion. In fact, she's in a lot of the high-end arena stuff. She's still showing up in the high-end arena for certain situations because there's certain things she does really, really well.
She hits hard too. So, even with the nerf, she hits, Titus also got nerfed. Oh, yeah. And he still is probably, if you're talking about max damage, for anything, any of the really big PvE long clan boss, you can one shot max damage. Hydra, you can do the same thing. Chimera, so even with these nerfs and balance changes, I agree, totally agree that they should definitely continue to do the balance changing. I know that they've already said that they're not going to be buffing a lot of champions, but they should be, I guess, really there's different ways that they could be buffing champions and nerfing champions. It shouldn't just be legendary champions and mythicals that they're changing. Yeah. They should really do a full, and I get there's so many champions, so this would be a huge ask, but doing an overhaul and be okay, let's see if we can make these other champions not competitive to legendaries. You want the legendaries to, and the mythicals to stand out, but the game's been out for so long and there are just so many champions that have just been super power crept that it's not even worth using them anymore.
Yeah, especially the older ones where their cooldowns are way too long and the chance of landing something isn't 100%, and not even 50% in some cases. It's what's the point of this champion if they're a 40% provoke?
Yeah.
What's the point of a 40% provoke? It's just no.
Yeah. I mean, I would even be okay. Yeah. Even if they're base stats or the rest of their kit, having somebody with a 100% taunt on their A1 and has not really great numbers, that would be still great for intro to middle grade Hydra, the taunt, the head, the taunt, the head, that would still be worth it instead of it be oh yeah, it's a 50% while booked. And then they kind of do also dumpy damage. The last thing I do want to bring up before we talk about 2026, is super raids on Minotaur. I think everybody for many, many years has been complaining about doing Minotaur. I'm not somebody who necessarily complains because I always buy with gems, which is stupid because it actually costs more with the gems. I'm just impatient. But the super raids, so nice that they've added that. That was, I think, probably one of their best features for 2025 that they've done is the super raids.
Yeah, that is a huge time saver. I've used it on my main a couple times. I don't generally use that on my free to play, and the reason I don't is the one problem that they have with it, just the way they've set it up, is it doesn't work like normal super raids do in any other area of the game, where super raids basically gives you 2 different shots at rewards. It basically takes whatever reward you get and doubles it. So the problem is, if you have a rollover where you would have only run one time and you hit an end, well, you've now done 2 runs and double the energy and gotten 3 scrolls, for example, which is just absolutely atrocious. It also doesn't spread them out as well. So as a result, you don't get like the same, some champions might run away with it if they get lucky compared to another champion. It's not as even because they get less times to just randomly spread out. But also it means that there's a very, very low chance that you can get less than 25 scrolls for the very, very first one.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get the 24, it gets doubled to 48. Suddenly you have a very good chance of literally having to run 6 runs instead of the 4 or 5 you might have had to do otherwise effectively for the very, very first ones. So I wish they would fix that, and they've actually acknowledged that's a bug. At least when I talked to support about it, support said, yeah, that's a bug, we're aware of it, and I haven't seen them try to fix it. It would be nice for them to fix that, because I think if they fix those things, it ceases to become an extra energy sink. The problem is I think they like it being an energy sink, so I don't think they really intend to fix it, which is a little unfortunate. But for like an endgame account where, okay, I might be losing, 3 or 4 runs overall, it's not a huge problem. But it's annoying on a free-to-play where you're trying to min-max absolutely everything possible, because
you have
that
to.
is basically half a refill worth of energy you've just wasted on nothing.
Yeah. I especially free to play, you can't just grab a credit card and be like, okay, my problem solved. I need more energy. Bam. It's whatever gems you get, whatever energy you get that you're hoarding up for fusions, which we have basically every other week. It's just the resources are just so much more impactful and important on a free to play. And I know that you and I have talked about that a bunch of times throughout, different collab videos or just like standalone videos, how important and utilizing your resources are for a free to play account. Yeah, I mean, I do think that they should do that, but at the same, I understand that they need to like have an incentive for people to buy into the game. Granted, there's so much already for that to happen that like give us a little bit of a bone here. But yeah, I mean, if that's a bug, that needs to be fixed. But yeah, I also on the flip side, I understand that they, Plarium needs to make their money. Granted, they do a great job anyways. So
that's half a refill is not a lot of wasted resources on our end, and it's not making them a ton of money on their end. So
yeah,
really,
just fix it. Just fix it. So moving into 2026. There's a lot of rumors and whispers, really, other than, we listened to the interview, the sit down. And obviously there's, I think it's this upcoming week, there is going to be a new fusion, obviously, as well as maybe a new faction. So, minus that, what are your biggest look forwards to that, you're looking forward to in 2026 for Raid?
Well, probably I think one of the biggest ones, I think for most people, not necessarily for my main account because I've done all these fusions, but the fact that they're going to be revisiting fusions, which of course is going to hint at a video we're going to talk about on my channel after this is done. But the fact that we're going to be able to get some of these old fusions somehow is going to be interesting. How they're going to do it, I don't know. I'm hoping they're going to let people choose, because it's going to be different for different people what they're going to be missing. What they're talking about specifically, if you don't have that champion, you're going to be able to do something for one of these champions somehow. And I know, there's a bunch of champions I can think of off the top of my head, and I'll save that for that other video we're going to deal with.
Yeah, that's going to be really fun. I can't wait for us to do that.
Yeah, and that's going to be huge for so many accounts, particularly my free-to-play, which basically I wasn't playing before January of last year. So I definitely don't have any fusion prior to January of last year. Even this year, there's a fusion or two I missed that I would not mind having a chance to get a crack at, although probably not the top 5 on that account at all. And I know there's a lot of other people that missed super powerful champions that they would love to get, and having a second crack at them could be account changing and game changing for them. And it's another good, engaging way to, get people playing the game.
Yeah, and that's at the end of the day what we want. We want new blood coming into the game, new people, and like old blood being energized to come back into the game. Like, oh my God, look at all these things that I can do within raid. Everybody has a certain amount of time that they can spend, right? Either you can spend that playing raid, you can play another game, or you could just be watching a TV show or something, right? You want to incentivize them to want to play this game. And I totally agree. And like I said, like you and I have said, like, can't wait for us to dive into that video on your channel. So definitely, go over to his channel and check that out. I'm really looking forward. I was super energized when I heard that announcement. Super energized. Cannot wait for them to bring that into, bring back previous fusions. But other than the fusions, I mean, there's just so much, right? Like the new faction, all of these quality of life changes.
Like, I don't know if you've heard about it or not, but they're talking about instant battles and tag.
Yes.
Really, really huge for a lot of people. That's going to be a huge time saver for, 80% of the time I'm running tag. I'm running it against, one-on-one easy stuff. And it's just like click done would be so much faster than having to sit through, that exactly what you're running.
Yeah, like right now. It's just,
it might take 2 minutes, but if it can take 10 seconds, that's a lot better, so.
Yeah, and then if you're losing, you can be like, okay, let me go back and hand you this, And that's one of my favorite things looking forward is, again, condensing your time, right? This is like doing this is when it's obviously not pointless. Like, you should be doing this for there's a lot of reasons why you should be doing tag team and just like a bunch of different areas of the game, right? But like, this is ridiculous. Like, this is like time consuming for no reason, like no purpose for this. Yeah. I could be utilizing my time in so many other ways. So like being able to just go bam, bam, and just like hammer it all out for like redundant battles like this isn't like, that's so good. They're talking about doing the ability to do background battles while you're doing like arena. And I really like that. Like, I cannot wait. Again, consolidating your time, that you're not just like, first of all, there's no reason that you shouldn't have been able to do this in the first place. Kind of sad that it's been 2026 that they're bringing this in, but whatever.
It sounds like it might just be live arena, or it might be when you're doing arena stuff is the only stuff you can do when you're doing the other stuff, and you cannot use those champions, which is fine. I don't mind that, although I was talking with Fastidious and he was telling me that some games will let you use not necessarily other champions, but also use the gear on those champions as well. But I mean, I don't mind that one too much. I'm running Dragon in the background. Let me get some live arena fights in while I'm doing that, or Iron Twins in the background. Usually one of the first things I do on my account for my daily stuff. So let me run the Iron Twins and then do some live arena. Well, that's going to save me a bunch of time. That's fine.
Yeah.
Certainly wouldn't be too bad, though, if I could also do like my classic arena and my tag arena also. So hopefully those will be allowed as well. Eventually, it would be kind of nice to be able to run 2 different areas at the same time, one manually and one not manually. And that would take some energy, but it would be kind of nice to be able to, say, I want to run these 10 or 20 dungeons in the dungeon, and so I can't run dungeon anymore, but why can't I do some campaign farming with the campaign farmer and somebody else that just, nice and easy?
Yeah, I mean, I would even be okay with doing like Sand Devil and Shogun at the same time if they're just using different champions. Like, why can't I run more than one dungeon at the same time? I mean, you're using as long as you have the energy resources. Like, I mean, especially for my account, like running like Sand Devil takes so long. You know what I mean? Like, I cannot do anything else for, I think because I'm using Canute and Godseeker. So like that run just takes forever. And even if I was using Ninja, right? Like that run just takes so long. Like, being able to do other things in the game while that's running in the background is really huge. I know that it was asked about the Chimera quick battles, and they said, maybe not, probably not. But that would be a huge one.
You mentioned that's actually happening now.
Oh, they changed their mind on it.
They did change their mind on that one. That one they've actually mentioned Chimera quick battles. There's something called the Demon Lord remix, where they might remix the classic clan boss in some way, and I don't know what that is. I'm kind of scared about that one.
Me too.
They're talked about more than just double super raids. on other content as well. That's another big time saver, because if, you know, especially for, hey, I'm 100% in this dungeon, why don't I just do 3 runs in a row instead of 2 runs in a row? That's going to make that daily run 3 much easier as well, because I only have to do it once instead of doing it twice, you know, and especially if I'm doing some, you know, sometimes it might be quick, especially an endgame account, but not everybody's on an endgame account. So not everything is going to be 1 minute in a cloud of dust through a particular dungeon floor. So be helpful for a lot of players.
Oh, definitely. Okay, that's actually fantastic. I really do like that, because what I do right now, especially for Chimera, is I just run it through the like RSL helper. I have a video like how to like run like all these battles to try to hit like a certain escalon of damage, but you're running that for like 40 minutes, 30 minutes, and then like you're doing that for how long? Like that's such a time sink in the game, because even with teams that you've had set up, there's still variations with the damage. You know, Chimera, like my damage sometimes is 100 to 200 million variants, depending on, you know, my speed tune. If one of the trials like hits through, you know, because there's a percentage. Same thing with Hydra.
You get a 3% failure rate, and sometimes a debuff doesn't land. You know, all kinds of fun stuff. Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff that goes into. Obviously, there's RNG, and I'm okay with the RNG, right? But again, you know, how much time do we have to devote to the game? Do we have hours and hours? Like, no, like even content creators don't have that time. And like specifically like people like the average Joe going to work, coming home, doing other things, they don't have 5 hours to devote to the game. So I am very happy that they're, you know, consolidating and utilizing our time in a more efficient way.
Definitely a concern that a lot of people have, that raid just takes too much time. And I know they want to get their metrics for that, but again, really, if I'm going to spend 4 hours running a dungeon and then put my phone down, go do something else, am I engaged in the game? Is that something that's really a useful metric for people? It's not really what's going on. And in many ways, the fact that if I can't do that, or I guess some people would like the background battles to be able to run offline, which would certainly make it a little bit easier for a lot of people with phones that, you know, don't want to have their phone locked in Raid Shadow Legends, so they can't do anything else on their phone necessarily either, you know. That's a big deal as well. So it would be nice to get some of that stuff addressed, but they're working on it. And again, we've, you know, some of the quality of life improvements we have right now, I never would have thought we would have had as recently as this year. So
yeah,
you know, it's nice that we're slowly but surely
getting that way
better with Raid.
Yeah, which is really, it's nice that they're listening, and it feels like they're listening. Which in the past, it just feels like we're just talking into the void, and then they'll kind of sprinkle in a little thing here. So, you know, a lot of big things. Really excited for the new faction. I was really excited for Sylvan Watchers when they came out. Really energized. Like that faction was awesome. I still really, it's one of my favorites. I mean, Lizards are still my favorite, but Sylvan Watchers are really cool, very unique. So a lot of really great things. Obviously, this is a very quick recap of, you know, both different years. There's a lot of things that happened in 2025 and a lot of great things to look forward to in 2026. Bront, thank you so much for joining me. Always a pleasure to have you on the channel. You are the reason that I even started making content for Raid. So everybody thank Bront for convincing me to move away from, well, I still do League, obviously, but you know, just branch out a little bit to an actual fun game that's not League of Legends and tilting and sad and angry. A gacha game, which is, I mean, I love Raid. I've been playing for so long. So thank you, Bront, so much for making some time. And guys, also, like I said, go to his channel. We're going to be going over the Fusion recaps, what we're going to be looking forward to moving from there. Again, Bront, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun, and definitely want to hear from you guys below and tell us what you guys think of what was some of the best stuff of 2025 and what you're looking forward to in 2026. Love to hear from you guys as well.
Absolutely, guys. If you have not already, like, subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and I'll see everybody in the next video.